This is Module 5, Lesson 6 homework. This is covering volume. Okay, the first one says, the dimensions of a cylindrical can of pet food are shown below. What's the volume in terms of pi? If you notice, you've got pi in all of your answers. Okay, so you don't need to multiply by pi. Let's just make sure that we do our math and we leave pi in it. The volume of a cylinder, that would be pi, radius squared height, if you look up your formula. We leave pi in it. Don't put in 3.14 or anything like that. The radius, okay, now this shows the diameter. Remember, we talk about a circle. All the way across the circle is the diameter. Halfway across is your radius. We know that because if you write radius and you write diameter, diameter is a longer word than radius. So diameter is the long one, radius is the short one here. Okay, our radius here, if it's 3, then if our diameter is 3, then we would divide 3 by 2, and that would give us 1.5 inches for our radius. So we substitute 1.5 in place of radius. Our height is 2. Now, in your calculator, you would say 1.5 squared times 2, and that would give you 4.5. Now notice we've not done anything with the pi, and generally you put the pi behind the number, so 4.5 pi. There's your answer. Okay, let's look at 2. In the diagram below, the cone has a radius of 9 centimeters and a slant height of 15. Okay, find the volume of the cone. Look, it's got pi left in it, so you don't need to multiply by a number for pi. You leave pi in it. The volume on a cone is 1/3 pi r squared height. Okay, now let's see what we have and what we don't have. The 1/3 is fine. I don't want to mess with the pi. Our radius is 9. Our height, we don't have our height, okay? But if you look at this, you have a right triangle here, okay? And to get to the height, we could use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. We know that c is across from the right angle. It's the long side, the hypotenuse. So in this case, with the c is 15. It doesn't matter here which is a or b, so I'll go 9 squared plus h squared is 15 squared. 9 squared is 81 plus h squared is 15 squared, which is 225. I'm solving for the h because I'm looking for that height. I'd subtract 81 from both sides. H squared then is 144. I will take the square root of that because I don't want h squared, I just want h. In my calculator, I would put in second function, square root, 144 equal, and I would get 12. So the height is actually 12, which makes sense. The hypotenuse is the longest side. Height is smaller than that. Okay, so we substitute 12 in place of height. Now, what I'm going to do, since I'm leaving pi in there, I'm going to say 9 squared times 12, and then I'm going to come back and divide that by 3, and I get 324, and see I haven't multiplied by the pi, so that's 324 pi. Right there is your answer. Okay, let's go to 3. Ursula has a cylinder and a cone that have the same height and radius. Which ratio compares the volume of the cone to the cylinder? So I want cone to cylinder. Okay, doesn't give me any numbers, but we talked about this. What if I have a cylinder and inside it I draw a cone that has the same radius? See, it would have the same radius as the cylinder and the same height. Okay, here's your radius and here's your height. Well, what we've got is we've got all of this volume that has been left out in the cone. So when we're talking the volume of the cylinder, it's pi radius squared height. When we talk volume of the cone, it is 1/3 that, 1/3 pi radius squared height, okay? So this is just, the cone is 1/3 of that. So the cone is 1, the cylinder would be 3. Our ratio is 1 to 3. A honeydew melon is shaped like a sphere. Sphere's like a ball, 3-dimensional, right? This one has a diameter of 8 inches. Diameter is the long side, remember, it's the long one. In a circle, radius is shorter, diameter is longer, so diameter is all the way across. Which value is closest to the volume of a melon? Okay, the volume of a melon is 4/3, or volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi times your radius cubed. Well, 8 is your diameter. Your radius is going to be half of that. To get to your radius, I divide the 8 by 2, which gives me 4. Volume is equal to 4/3 times your pi. We're going to use 3.14 for pi because you don't see the pi left in here. And they're saying closest to, that means you're doing an approximation. And your radius is 4, so we're going to do that to the 3rd power. Now let's just put this into your calculator. Say 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 4. That would give you 267.9. So that's closest to 268 cubic inches. Oops. Yes. All right. Go to number 5. John is curious to know how much ice cream the interior of the sugar cone can hold. Given the dimensions of his cone below, which equation can be used to calculate his volume? Volume for a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h, okay? So let's plug in what we've got. 1/3, and see our answers all have pi in them, so leave pi there. The radius, this is the diameter. Remember, we've talked about this before. If you've got a circle, halfway across is your radius, all the way across is your diameter. You can tell that by looking at the length of the two words. Radius, diameter. Diameter is a longer word. It's the longer line. Okay? So in this case, this is our diameter. So our radius is going to be equal to half of that. 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. That would be 2.5 squared, and then our height is 13. Okay? 1/3 pi, 2.5 squared times 13, right? And where'd it go? 2.5 squared times 13. There you go. Okay? What's wrong here? There's no 1/3. What's wrong here? They're trying to square the 13. There's no square on the height. What's wrong here? They use the diameter instead of the radius. Okay. Number 6. Gregory competes in the shot put at his high school. He throws a shot, a sphere-shaped metal ball with a diameter of 5.1 inches. What is the volume of the shot? Use pi is approximately equal to 3.14, round to the nearest tenth, okay? The volume for a sphere, this is a sphere. Volume for your sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, all I need is my radius. Well, this is my diameter because that's the long way across, right? We know if we're talking about radius or diameter, radius is halfway across. Your diameter is all the way across. Okay? So you know the radius is a short one because if you write them out, radius is a shorter word than diameter. So we need to find the radius here. Now I've got the diameter, which is 5.1. Let's divide it by 2. Okay, 5.1 divided by 2 will give you 2.55 inches for your radius. All right, so let's plug this in. Volume is equal to 4/3, 3.414 times 2.55 cubed. Okay, that's 2.55 times itself 3 times. 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 2.55 times 2.55 times 2.55. And that would give you 69.4 cubic inches right there. Okay. Let's go to number 7. What is the volume of this firework? Use pi's approximately equal to 3.14. Round your answer to the nearest 10. Okay, well, this is a composite figure. So the total volume there is going to be equal to the sum of the 2 volumes, right? The total volume would be equal to the volume of this, what's on top? A cylinder, and, I'm sorry, a cone, a cylinder on the bottom. What's on top? The cone, volume of a cone, all right? Cylinder, cone, all right? So let's find the volume of the cylinder, the one that's on the bottom. The volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. We're using 3.14 for pi. We're using, let's see, our radius here. This is 4 inches, so the radius would be half of that. It would be 2 squared. And our height on the cylinder is 10. Okay? 3.14 times 4 times 10. That gives me 125.6 for the cylinder. 125.6. Now let's do the volume of the cone. It's the one on the top with the pointy thing. Volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. That is 1/3, and we're substituting 3.14 for pi. Our radius is the same as the radius here. Halfway across, if it's 4 all the way across, half that is 2 squared, and the height for the cone is 4.5. So 3.14 times 2 squared, which is 4, times 4.5, and then we divide that by 3, and that gives me 18.8. So if we add these two together, 125.6 plus 18.8, we come away with 144.4. And that would be cubic inches, okay? There's your answer. Number 8. Antoine uses a large paper cone to hold popcorn. Which equation would he use to find the volume of the cone? Well, let's see. We know the volume of a cone is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. They left pi in it, so let's see. First off, we know it's got to be either the top or the bottom because those are the only ones that say 1/3, right? The volume would be equal to 1/3 pi. Our radius would be halfway across. Okay, so if the diameter is 12, half of that is 6 squared, and our height is 22. 1/3 pi 6 squared times 22. There's our answer right there. And now this one, last one of this batch. The Riverton High Rockets won their regional basketball tournament and were awarded this trophy. What's the volume of the trophy? Let pi equal 3.14. Okay, the total volume is going to be equal to the sum of the volume of the two. This is a sphere, so that's going to be the volume of a sphere plus the volume of this cylinder, okay? The total volume then would be equal to, let's find the volume of the sphere. We know the formula for a sphere. Volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, so if the diameter is 9.5, then we need to find the radius. The radius would be equal to 9.5 divided by 2. 9.5 divided by 2. Let's see, 9.5 divided by 2 will give me 4.75. My radius is 4.75. Let's plug that in. 4/3, 3.14 times 4.75 raised to the third power. Okay, let's put this in. 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 4.75 times 4.75 times 4.75, and that would give you 448.7. Okay, 448.7. Now let's find the volume of this cylinder. We know the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. Okay, if I substitute 3.14 in for pi, my radius, oh, that's not a cylinder. Wait, I'm sorry. This is the volume of a cone. I put cylinder, I meant cone. And that would be, volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. Okay, that's 1/3 times our 3.14 times our radius. This is 9.5 here. Half of that is 4.75 squared. And then a height of this cone is 4. Okay, so it would be 3.14 times 4.75 times 4.75 times 4. And then we would divide that by 3. And that would give us 94.5. And you would add those two together. 94.5 plus 448.7. And you would get 543.2. There we go, 543.15. Okay?